Lock.
Welcome to another episode of Master Force with Mu Shemsu-t. One day, when I was 5 years old, I came home from school with my sister. And when we got into our apartment, we saw that our grandmother and our grandmother and our aunt were there packing up all of our clothes. And we had no idea why they would be packing up our clothes. And I, of course, said, "Where's mommy?" And my grandmother said, kind of gruffly, "Your mother went to visit a friend. You're going to come and stay with me for a while." And I didn't like that answer, but okay, it's my grandmother, right? So we went to grandmama's house, and after a couple of days, I asked again, "Where's mommy?" Now my grandmother was kind of annoyed, irritated. She said, "Stop asking me that question." And I did. I actually stopped asking any questions. I became very silent in my life at that time. And then one day, my grandmother told us, she said, "Get dressed. We're going to go visit your mother." I think it was about Easter. So it had been some months now, right? So I got dressed and sister got dressed. We got all cute and everything. And we got in the car with my aunt and my grandmother. And we drove for a very long time. I mean, a very long time. Oh, it seemed long to me because I'm five, right? And we pull up to this ominous building and we walk in, and there's a doctor standing there waiting to greet us. And she grabs my hand and she said, "Oh, you come to visit your mother." And I'm thinking, this is really not a friendly place. I hope my mother, I didn't feel safe, right? I felt, you know, kind of tingy, cringy. So she took me by the hand and we walked down this long corridor and a few doors she unlocked, and we went into this big room. There were a lot of people there, tables and chairs, everybody sitting around talking. It was a little festive. So she walked me, we all walked in a general direction, and I could see that there was a woman sitting by herself. And I don't know if could tell it was a woman or not. I could see that it was something familiar about the person, but I did notice she didn't have any arms. So I got closer and I could sense that it was my mother. So I let go of the doctor's arms and I ran to her. "Mommy, mommy." I was just so elated, right? And just, went to hug her. And she looked at me and she said, "Who are you?" And that was the beginning of my Cinderella life. However, today, that is not what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about a major gift that God has blessed each of us with so that we could save our own lives. But before we do that, we remember that it's Thankful Thursday, and we're going to thank the Female Solution for bringing us to this platform. Let's get started.
Women have the power to transform this world. We can end crime and violence if we all agree to do one thing: share. Let's share our wisdom, share our time, share our talents, share our finances, but most of all, let's share our love. This is the Female Solution.
Yes, this is the Female Solution. And I want to provide some really good stuff about a solution for all of us that all we have to do is cultivate it. So today we're talking about the power of visualization. Now, I want you to be patient with me because I usually present this work either in a workshop or a seminar or a course, but my spirit asked me to share it with this audience. So that's what I'm going to do. So, close your eyes and visualize is a component of one of the sessions that we teach in our life coach certification course. Now, as an introduction, I want to say that there's so many aspects to the human mind. And when I found out that my mother had lost her mind, one of the things that I did was I started studying how the mind works. And I mean, I started studying at a very young age, like at 7 or 8. We had the whole Encyclopedia Britannica, and my grandmother would bring books home when she worked at the hotel. So we did a lot of reading in my house. However, the best book that I have ever read, I didn't read until I was 17. And I had broken my hip, thigh, and knee and ended up being in the hospital for 3 months, actually. And after being there for this period of time, one of my teachers from high school brought me this book, The Power of Your Subconscious Mind. I didn't find out until years later when I was interviewing him on one of my podcasts. He said that he happened to run into this book while at Powell Bookstore in Hyde Park. He hadn't even read it. He just thought it would be really good to bring to me to read. And he also brought me a set of encyclopedias and I mean a set of magazines to read. You know, he said, here's some reading material. But what he said about this book is, I know that it may be too deep for you, but if you read it, it will probably make a difference for you. Now, I love that dare, right? And when everybody left, I started reading this book. And I only looked for the actual, whatever it was about healing. So I opened the table of contents and I looked through it, and there were 3 topics on healing. And the first topic said that you have to make sure that you forgive everybody. You have to forgive life. You have to forgive yourself. You have to forgive God. And I went through all of that. And then it said, you have to remember that when you're contacting God and you're actually using prayer in a powerful way within your mind and your body, you have to make sure that you're clear. So you can't have any anger, you can't have any resentment and hold grudges and think that you're going to ask God for a blessing because you're not a clear enough vessel to receive that, right? So I understood that. And then it said that the best time to impact your subconscious mind is when you go to sleep and when you wake up, because your conscious mind is less troublesome, right? It's not going to interfere. You know, our conscious mind is very judgmental. You know, people will judge you before they'll listen to you without realizing that God is speaking through everybody, right? Everybody has a message for us if we're listening. So I actually applied that information to myself and was able to get out of the hospital. When I realized how powerful this information was, what I kept thinking, why aren't they teaching this in school? And so I did later, many years later in my life, I developed an academy to share this information because this is far more important than reading, writing, and arithmetic. Or should I say it's just as important. And you've probably heard the saying when people tell you, if you want to keep something from a Black man, what do? You put it in a book. So this is one of the most powerful books that I've read. And then I found out later that people like Michael Jordan and Tiger Woods and several other people, they actually use visualization in their training process, right? They actually train their mind to visualize what they're going to do next. So, one of the processes of visualization is to be able to, first of all, know what you want. So, I want to take you through um, this actual visualization that we can do, or we can actually work on, so that we can create what we want in our life. You heard my beginning story. I didn't grow up with my mother being engaged. I did not have a father, still don't know who my father is. And pretty much grew up in a household where people did not support me. Uh, they did their best. I'm not complaining about that. However, what it did was it led me into myself. And I think all of us, when we realize that we have such power within, we will do more work and we will see more results in our life. So, one of the things that we want to do is we want to make sure that you know what you want. When I'm working as an executive life coach with people and I ask them what they want, a lot of times people cannot, unless they're in a crisis mode, they, they can't tell you what they want. So I want you to really sit and write down at least three things that you want. And we actually do this inside of a process, right? We say, look at your home life. What do you want for your home life? Look at your relationships. Look at your finances. Look at your career. Now, notice that we separate finances and career. Why? Because you can grow your finances without worrying about your career. Your career is part of your self expression, is part of what you give back to corporate life. But your finances, we think you should actually have 7 sources of income, and your career may only be just one. And then there's also your spiritual. What are your spiritual goals or intentions? What do you want for your spiritual life? Do you want to have more peace? Do you want to feel more freedom? Do you want to experience more anointing in what you're doing? And then, of course, the expression of your sexuality. Now, sexuality, there's one of my books, that I did write this one down, Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. He has a section in, I think it's chapter 11, where he talks about sex transmutation. And it's not about any act of intimacy, it's about understanding that you as a person have an energy that you can transfer. You can transmute this energy into a very creative force, right? And you can use it with your visualization. Now, that's another course that we teach, and that's called Kundalini Magic. But today we're talking about the power of visualization. So, the first thing you have to do is know what it is that you want, and you have to write it down, right? Now, once you write it down, we can then get into the process, right? And the process that we teach is called the Marv technique. And with the Marv technique, you're actually going to bring attention and focus into those things that you want. Now, before I go into telling you about that, I want to tell you about the 17-second rule that is a law in the universe that you really have to understand so that you can gain more control over yourself. Because you're not going to gain it over life, you're going to gain it over yourself. The 17-second rule says that if you focus on something for 17 seconds, that will develop a frequency within you that will anchor you to that thought. Now, 17 seconds is not a long time, but if you're in an argument or disagreement with somebody, that can be a very long time, because how many 17 seconds is ticking when you're in that emotional rage? And now, when you come out of that emotional rage, you're still in that frequency. And then you get in your car, or you bump your knee, or you get in your car, have an accident, you bump something, hurt yourself. All of these are because your frequency has adapted to the energy of anger or upset. So you have 17 seconds to check yourself. That's why your feelings are so important. Your feelings are your guideposts. It lets you know you are not happy right now. So what do you need to do? You need to shift your attention. You can deal with anything, from comfort, from being relaxed, from being clear, but you have to calm yourself down. And this is why we teach breathing, because breathing is the fastest way to actually bring yourself back into balance. Now, the 17-second rule is not anything new. Go out there and research it. It's all over YouTube University. Find out for yourself how to use that. But it's a way of bringing what it is that you want to fruition faster when you use this. Now, when we talk about the MAR technique, meditation, affirmation, relaxation, visualization, this is a way of being fully aligned on your focus. Many people are challenged because when they say that they pray, they usually are very afraid. And what they're generating is fear. So even though they're saying words to God, what they're feeling is fear. And God can hear the words, but the frequency is actually fear that's vibrating from you. And you have to actually contain that. So we teach meditation so that people can really understand and feel what God feels like. When you pray, you want to feel the essence of God. You want to be in the energy of that. You don't want to be in fear. You want to be aligned to, first of all, what it is that you're requesting, and second of all, to the truth that God is going to answer your prayer. Okay? So when we go into this conversation, we want to tell you that all you have to do is sit quietly for 5, 10 minutes a day. Just 10 minutes can gain you a full day of productivity, magic, transformation. And then you just want to stay focused on your breath. And if thoughts come, just go back into your breath. Now, the reason that we actually suggest that people use affirmations is because this is how you can quiet that left brain. Give it something to do. So, for instance, if one of my desires is to become financially secure, financially independent, to have all my bills paid, to not have to worry about money, what does that feel like? Can you even get to that feeling of being financially free? Do you see that as soon as I say that, that there's some kind of imbalance right there, right? There's a disbelief that comes up. If you grew up like me, on welfare, holes in your shoes, didn't eat sometime, you don't know that money is going to show up. You don't even think that money is going to show up. Matter of fact, I didn't even expect money to show up, and I didn't even look for money to show up. But you have to teach yourself to feel that. You have to feel it in order to receive that. Remember, that whole 17-second rule is true about your finances too. So when you get money and the first thing you do is complain about having to use it to pay bills, or I got to spend it on these children, or I have to, all of that is a complaint about the energy of money. You have to have more love about it. I don't care if you have $5. Thank you. You know, this is great. This is awesome. What can I use with this? What can I do with this? Okay. So give yourself a chance to actually work with that, with the affirmations. I want to see Naima says, up, wait a minute. Naima says, some people have been so disappointed after repeatedly not getting what they want that they are afraid to openly express a desire for anything. Naima, that is so true. I was a widow at 25, and I promise you that I said that I would never get married. I was done with a lot of things. And it took me 10 years, but I got married again, and that didn't work out either. But I did not lose any type of love about love. What I realized is that I had to cultivate more love within myself. And that's what those lessons were, to stop relying on other people to love me. And I didn't know what that meant because I was not loved as a child. So I had to go through. That's why you can't compare your life to other people, because we're all here for different lessons. I actually read a book, and I'm always going to be talking about books, but one book that I read that really made a difference for me is Your Soul's Plan by Robert Schwartz. And when he talked in that book, he says that um, we actually do determine before we come to this life what it is we intend for our souls to learn. So we're not here by accident. So I have to look and find what my lessons are. You have to look and find what your lessons are. And I can't look over there and determine that what you're doing is what I should be doing, because each of us have to find what's there for ourselves. And then we share it. And when we share it, we just all expand together. Okay, so now when you're creating affirmations, just remember that they're there to support what it is that you say that you want. So if I want financial freedom, I'm going to say it is, and this is for me, it is safe for me to be rich. Now, why do I say that? Because I grew up in a family that if you did anything different, you were ostracized. So I probably have in my subconscious mind someplace that is not safe to have money. And so when I did get money and was making a great deal of money, I was trying to take care of everybody. Okay, here, here, here. Why? Because I thought that that's what you're supposed to do. But everybody is not on that frequency. So you want to be careful always handing out things to people. What you want to do is provide knowledge so that if you do give them something, they can sustain it and they don't have to keep coming back to you to take care of them. And that's kind of what's happened in our society that has us on a really um, a down spiral, because we think that somebody else is supposed to give to us when we really have been provided for on the inside, right? So make sure that you have an affirmation that you're working on as you're in your meditation so that you can stay in your breath and stay quiet. And usually, when you do that, answers will come to you when you're done, more peace will be there. But if nothing else, you will be grounded, you will be anchored in your soul, and you don't have to worry about so much of what other people say. And also one thing that I use that I love, I don't know if you guys are familiar with Bach flower remedy. Bach flower, I've been using this probably close to 40 years. But Bach flower, this is walnut, and walnut is gives you the ability to adapt to change. In this essence, this is a flower essence that you just drop under your tongue, and it's created by Dr. Bach. He went out into his garden one day, and he said, all of these flowers, they have this essence about them. So he started studying them, and he created 38 different essences to help us to connect to our soul. So sometimes when we're expanding, it's because our soul is actually trying to get us to reach for more. So get you some walnut, or actually go and study Bach flower remedies, bachflowerremedy.com, and look and see which one is best for you so that you can get a cleaner idea of what your soul is seeking. Okay. So create your affirmations based on what it is that you want. Money flows to me easily and effortlessly. There is raining, money is raining down. I wrote a song and my children are always singing it. The divine force of the universe guides my life and all of my finances. Whatever it is that you need to actually teach your mind to be on the side of receiving instead of on the side of lack is what you're wanting to do. Because I don't care how much you pray, if you still are afraid or if you still feel lack, you're pushing away whatever is trying to come to you. And this is why we move into relaxation. It's not about are your nerves relaxed, although they need to be relaxed, but are you trusting that what you're asking for is going to come? Do you really trust God? I see people go to church all the time, pray all the time, and you can tell that they have the reins. They're not trusting God. They're not letting go. They're not allowing themselves to be blessed. They're really more excited about making sure they can do it themselves. But everything about our life is learning how to surrender. And that surrender is not necessarily the same as letting go. That surrender is really the trust, the ability to fall back and know that you're okay. And that's why sometimes you have to let things fall apart. You have to let things fall apart so that you can see what God is trying to show you. Sometimes God is trying to show us this is not the path. This is not the path. And you're insisting. You ever been in a relationship with somebody and you just wanted to make it work so bad? You were insisting that it worked. You weren't going to stop no matter what. You wanted to make this person love you. You were committed to making this person love you. And then when it didn't work out, you felt like something was wrong with you. We again have to trust the process. We have to surrender and allow ourselves to be guided by our soul so that we can see what's going on. Let me see, Asada, what is Asada saying? That is so important. When we're so used to giving, sitting and allowing receiving must be acknowledged and accepted. And let me tell you, Asada, for givers, the hardest thing in the world is to receive. It feels like, well, one thing, giving is a very powerful place. I have something, so I can give it to you. And if we are receiving, sometimes we feel like, oh, I shouldn't be getting this. But the universe is very generous. In our learning, we need to be both givers and receivers. I was reading one metaphysical book that said some people give so much that at the end of their life, they end up in a bed in a coma because they never allowed themselves to receive. They could not be vulnerable to life. They could not be vulnerable to someone taking care of them or giving them anything. So they end up in the hospital, actually, feeling a certain way. Well, no, if they're in a coma, we don't know what they're feeling. But this is another way of their soul learning that lesson. Receive, let go, allow. Okay. All right. So this, wait, I have one more. let me see, who is this? I love talking to Asada. Girl, you about to make a sister cry this morning. Come on now. You know how we do, Asada. I'm going to take a short commercial break and then we'll come back because there's a lot more to this. And, while I'm on this break, I want you to make sure, write down 3 things that you want. And if you know the affirmations, write the affirmations right next to them. All right, we'll be right back. Oh, thank you, thank you, thank you for joining me for the second half of this show. And we are talking about the power of visualization. Close your eyes and visualize. Now, we were just on the subject of looking at whether or not we're relaxing. And I asked you to write down what you want and write down a few other affirmations that you can use. Now, I also want to tell you that a short story, I think I had to be about 40 years old when I realized that I had this knot in my stomach. And I I knew that it was anxiety, but I did not know how to relieve it. I couldn't do it mentally. So I stayed in my breath. Every time it would come up, I would just breathe through it. And then right when 911 happened, it came back. And I remember, oh, I can get to that through my breath. And so I went into my breath. And from that day forward, I trained myself to move out of anxiety quickly by going into my breath. Well, that's what relaxation feels like. When you are relaxed, you're not anxious. Being anxious is another sign of fear. Trying to rush something is another sign of fear. So you want to allow yourself and just really, in all of the work, everything, that's why Jesus Christ was such an example for us. Jesus said, "You have seen me do many things and more." Right? No, you have seen me do many things, and you will be able to do this and more. Well, what did he mean by that? He meant that he trained himself. I and the Father are one. He trained himself to hear God, to move with God. He would go meditate for 40 days and fast and all of that so that he could be closer to God, not get more likes and run out there and see everybody look at me. You don't care if anybody see you or not, because when you are happy on the inside and you know how to access your own joy, you could care less if you see people or if they see you. So that's part of relaxing and trusting. These are things that we have to cultivate ourselves. And you don't need a religion to cultivate. Jesus was not a Christian. Jesus wasn't teaching religion. Jesus was teaching you how to hook up with God, how to know who the universe was and that it flows through you and that you can tap that source. And part of tapping into that source is to relax. And now we get to visualization. With visualization, you once you know what you want, You want to focus on the end of receiving. You want to focus on seeing it. You want to focus on having it. If it's a full bank account, like thousands of dollars in your bank account, millions of dollars, you want to focus on seeing that. And when you focus on seeing that, you can't tell people that this is what you're doing. Because as soon as you do, what do? They bite at you, and that takes the energy away. That addresses that 17-second rule, right? Because now all of a sudden you're thinking about what they're thinking about instead of what you need to be focused on. So you want to make sure that you know the outcome of what you want to experience. If you're healing, and you remember that was how I discovered this process with when I broke my hip, thigh, and knee. I envisioned 3 little men knitting my bones back together. That's all I did. I visualized 3 little men knitting my femur bone back together. And within 3 days, the doctor said, "Oh, you must have contacted God." That's how it works. And usually 3 days is it. If you start working on something that you want today, in 3 days, you will be able to see the numbers in the universe are 369. In 3 days, you will be able to start to see it's turning over. I see movement. Something shifted. You'll be able to see that for yourself. So when you visualize and you understand that you know what you want and you're looking there, you want to create that image as clear as possible. Make it real. You want to smell it. You want to see it. You want to taste it. Make it as real as possible. Sit with that vision 5 minutes every day. If you can sit a few times, sit a few times. When I was working, I used to go in the bathroom and sit, because I wanted to leave this job, so I have the money pouring over me. And then I created a whole meditation around the money tree, just pulling the money off the tree, whatever that looks like. Your mind is trained to create. That's why it's so dangerous for us to allow our children to sit on these devices and these games all day, because it's programming their mind to not be themselves, but to be who society thinks they should be. So we have to take responsibility for that. I have to take responsibility for that. Wanting to be the grandmother. Oh, my grandkids got to have all the new technology. Oh my goodness. I don't like that I did that. You can be generous to a fault. And that was my fault. And now, to get it out of their hands, we have to go places, we have to do things, we have to play games, we have to, participate. But that's what we should be doing in the first place. We should be engaged with them. So make sure that your visualization is actually what you want, and it makes a difference for you and everybody. If it makes a difference for you, it's going to pour over. It's going to pour over. Now, here's a little secret. I'll give you this tip. That movie screen is right here. And if you close your eyes and raise your eyes up to that movie screen and just visualize and see, man, I'm telling you, that's it right there. See the joy, we have been given everything that we require to save ourselves. Jesus is the example of using it. So start using visualization as a way of getting past any challenges you may be having. Remember our list. If it's a health challenge, then deal with one small aspect of your health at a time. What is it? And then, be mindful that with how medical things are, you really have to move more towards the natural as much as possible, just because a lot of doctors are not trained to heal. They're trained by pharmaceutical. Well, let me not talk like that. Okay. But anyway, You want to visualize being healthy and strong. When I was 61, I fell 3 times in 1 month on my knees. And I remember calling Dr. Hoppy. I was so scared. I was like, I do not want to become immobile. I do not want to. And, doc started giving me treatment. And then I went to other doctors. Oh, you need to get a hip replacement. Oh, you need to get a knee replacement. And my body kept saying, just keep talking, keep working. And my spirit said, we got you. And I went into recluse mode where I didn't do anything for anybody but me and God. And we worked. And now when that happened, I was walking 10,000 steps a day. So it wasn't like I wasn't working on my health, but I realized that took me into some deep research that I didn't know. I didn't know that after 60, all of the minerals in your body and stuff, they stop developing. You have to supplement. And I didn't know that until I started studying. And that's why longevity, you after 60, your longevity is on you. You have to create it. You have to change your diet. You have to change your thoughts. You have to change your expression because your body is not going to support it. If you keep doing the same thing that you were doing when you were 40 and 50, eating the same crappy foods. Now you can eat fun foods sometimes. I still eat my fun foods sometimes, but you can't do that every day. All right. So I had to visualize myself walking again. And I do. I do walk. I run. I do a lot of things now, you know, and I'm grateful. And it took a couple of years to get back to myself, but it also taught me to trust again and what God can do and how God can actually heal us if we allow it. So I want you to actually, in order to use this information, and I tell people all the time, oh, let me check my messages. Sorry, Asada. Um, Let me see. Asada, I love being trained by her. Let me see. Where is that? I saw something come up. Oh, here it is. Bridget, what you are saying is true. I said that I would like to have a podcast. And within 3 days, Asada called me and asked me if I wanted to do a podcast and she would help. Oh, come on. That's what I'm saying. Absolutely. Just like that. Because we don't know what the universe is orchestrating on our behalf. We don't know what's going on in the background. That's why sometimes when we're pushing for something, we're not allowing God to do its part. We're not allowing the universe to pull out all of the stops. And it's important for us to allow ourselves to let go, slow down a little bit. So with this 30-day practice, you want to write down and take on one until you get good. Now I can do several at a time, but take on one so you can see how this works. Take on one. What do you want? Write it down, not type it in your computer. There is a hookup between writing and your brain. It's the creative essence that we want to tap into. We are here to create. We're not here just to do physical work. We're literally here to create. And part of that creation is creating the life that we want. So write down what you want. I want to have $5,000 a month flowing into my bank account. Write it down. And then you start with the Marv technique. You meditate on it. And the purpose of the meditation is what? To feel what it feels like to actually have that $5,000. What would your life look like if you had the $5,000 every month? And it would be an additional 5,000 because you may already have 5,000 and that makes it 10. Whatever that is, what does it feel like? What does it feel like to not worry about having your bills paid? Okay? You want to write it down. Let me see. Farasha said, I am so excited for this podcast. Come on, coach. That's right. We have to get you on this show. Thank you. Thank you. And then with it, Asada, I have not written down affirmations for myself in a long time. It felt good to do that when you told me to do so. Many times, confronting what we want feels wrong. Yes, it's not wrong. You know what? We have been taught that being selfish is wrong when actually you are the most important person in your universe. Your universe. Because without you, what would exist? You wouldn't have this experience. So you have to have your expression, and you also have to allow everybody else to have their expression. It is not wrong. You want to be filled till your cup runneth over, so that what? That run over can flourish and make a difference for the people. We are so used to giving from an empty cup that we think it's natural. We think that that's what we're supposed to do, but it's not. It's not. So thank you, Asada. Write it down. Write it down. Be good to yourself. And when you meditate and you feel yourself actually being present to what is wealth. I didn't know what wealth feel like. I do now. I do now. But I didn't know what it felt like. But when you do, you will see abundance everywhere. You will see it everywhere. Do you have plants? When you look outside, does the universe give you one blade of grass per lot? Oh, no. Can you even count the blades of grass? When you look at the trees fall, the leaves falling from the trees, it looks like a shower. It's not just one or two things. This is how abundant the universe is. It's a reminder. The universe is reminding us everywhere we look, abundance is yours. And then, if you know anything about chakras, what color is the heart chakra? The heart chakra is green. What color is everything in outside in nature? It's green. That's how generous God is. That's how generous the universe is to us. So we want to tap into that. We want to come back home into ourselves. So when you meditate, this allows you to create that connection. When you write your affirmations, you're retraining your brain. You're getting out of lack. You're not thinking about what you don't have. I was working with my stretch coach yesterday, and sometimes it could be a little painful, right? And I said, I had a 9-pound, 8-ounce baby at home with nothing but lavender oil to sniff on. Why am I acting like this is, because I had trained myself to be afraid of pain again. And when all you have to do is go into your breath, the body will respond to you. It will respond to you. Let me see. Move around, Deborah. You are the star of your own life. You are the star of your own life. That's exactly right. I love that. Yes, you are the star. And it's up to you to create your story and not worry about what other people say about it or even criticizing theirs. Just be your star. I love that. Asada is saying, "Oh my God, I just asked for the same 5,000 a month the other day." Yes, you must be talking just through that. I'm talking to you, Asada. Now let me go replace the 5,000 with unlimited. Come on. I remember saying, "Wait a minute. If I was asking for 5,000 last year and let me double that." Whatever you actually have as an income, when I used to work with my clients, I used to tell them sometimes we have a ceiling on what we think we deserve. Now, I want you to know something. A job can never pay you what you're worth. So stop thinking that you're working to be paid what you're worth. No, that's why you have to have 7 streams of income. Your job is only one. Your career is only one source. What you have to create. What are other things that you can do? You can teach, you can write books, you can do podcasts, you can coach other people. There are a number of different things that you can do. Okay, a number of different things that you can do to supplement your income. It's going to get to a time where the job is going to be obsolete. That the only reason I used to volunteer more than I would, because I don't want to do something. I don't want to do anything that I don't want to do. So some things you can't pay me to do. I don't, I know that I won't go hungry. Okay. So no, thank you. But make sure that when you're meditating, you're in the feeling of that. Make sure that your affirmations are actually expressing that so that your left brain can actually be focused there instead of trying to tell you, oh, that's wrong. You shouldn't do that. And then relax. Enjoy. Find joy in everything. Take your hands off of that. What is it though? You can't watch a pot boil. I forget those sayings. Your grandmother used to say can't watch, but you don't want to watch it. You don't want to look and see. You don't want to keep testing it. You want to trust it. You want to put it out there and let it go and know that it's on the way. And then just move in towards that, move in through that so that you can actually sense because sometimes we don't get things because we're not ready for it. So the sometimes the wait is not the delay is not about you not getting it. It's about you have to develop yourself so you can hold that. I'm gonna tell you right now, if you have an abundance of money, you do not want to be putting it in a bank. So you have to read books like Doc was saying, Sudden Wealth. You have to set up trusts. You have to do other things with money instead of putting it in a bank. Asada is saying, in Scientology, L. Ron says to take the amount you need and 5 times it. Thank you, Asada. I agree with that. Let's 5 times it. Okay. But remember that you have to grow into that so that you can break the ceiling. You have to break your own ceiling. All right. You have to break your own limitations. And then here's the kicker. Do not tell anyone. Keep it to yourself. The biggest challenge that we're all facing is that everybody want to tell everything on Facebook, IG, YouTube. No, you can entertain people all you want, but do not tell them what's in your pocket. Do not tell them what's in your heart. The guy, the girl, whatever. Keep those things. Why? Because they're private and they're between you and God. They will see it. They will see it when it's time. Whatever you're working on, whatever you're creating, they will eventually see it. Okay. So don't be so quick to try to impress people about what you're doing and what you're working on because they don't deserve that. They may not be in the same mindset to encourage you, to be excited for you. But we want to be examples for people. We want them to see us flourish. We want them to know. We want them to ask us questions so we can tell them, listen, well, what do you want? Write it down. Write it down. And and then do these steps. Listen, anything that I share here, go and tell it on the mountain, as they say, because all of us are acting like we are inferior beings. We're acting like we don't know God. We are the most spiritual people on the planet. And do you see how we live? And God, the essence of God is all through us. From the melanin to the pineal gland. Come on. We can do this. So when you're doing your 30-day practice, I want you to, if you're going to start this today, I want you to count on your calendar, count out 30 days and put a star on there and say, we won, we're here, we got it, thank you. And then every day you're going to practice your meditation. You're going to say your affirmations. Now, when I was healing when I was younger, and I had that C thing happen to me when I was 28, I had that C thing happen to me. And I had to go back. One of the books that I read was Louise Hay. And I'm telling you, God is so good because that dropped in my lap. And the first thing it said was, this is caused because of long-standing resentment. You're in bad relationships. Oh my goodness. And I had to take those affirmations, and instead of just saying them, I wrote them. I wrote them 100 times a day because that's how warped my mind was. My mind, I was messed up. And I am so grateful for having that accident because it led me to the information that God had been trying to tell me. And I promise you, they weren't teaching this at church. They were not teaching this at church, even though they were talking about, give us some money. And I'm not opposed to church at all, but I'm just saying that God has given us everything that we require to save ourselves. So once you do the meditations and you write the affirmations and you relax and you stay in your visualization, the test is going to be when it doesn't happen as fast as you think it should, or where you hit something and it doesn't feel good. This is where your visualization has to come into play. And you have to remember that 17-second rule. And you put it back in your mind and you raise your eyes and you see the end results. And you know that you are the person. If it wasn't supposed to be for you, you wouldn't want it. You're given that feeling, you're given that desire because your soul is wanting you to have that, to experience that. So it's okay that it doesn't come as fast as you want, because remember, part of it is you growing into the person to sustain it. You have to grow into the person that can hold millions of dollars, because it's a huge responsibility. It's a huge responsibility. And when you're gifted something like that, you have to know that you can't just go out passing it out to everybody. You'll be back to where you were in no time with nothing. Oh, but don't worry about it. You can get it back again because now you have the formula. So we never worry about failure. Sometimes what's on the side of failure is an opportunity for us to clearly see ourselves. And here's the other thing. Remember, life is a mirror. If it's showing up in your face, that's a reflection of you. Take a deeper look. Take a deeper look. Okay? Take a deeper look. Who is this? This is, oh, hey, Dolly. Hey, Miss Dolly. Greetings, beautiful Miss. Come on, Coach. Thank you. Don't you are all trying to get in here today. Farasha, I am very opposed to church. Perhaps I need to take a look at that. Yes, take a look at that. When I was 19, I remember thinking, man, we need to blow up churches, but I've changed my mind about that. I grew up in church. And I love Jesus so much. If nobody in my family went to church, I went. I didn't care if they went or not because I love the story of Jesus. But then there were so many negative things happening that at 13, I ended up stopped going to church and I started hanging out with the gangbangers and selling drugs. Why? Because they were more welcoming. They were more loving. They were less critical. In church, what you got on? What you wearing? Who your mama? Your mama crazy. You don't go to church for people to talk to you like that. But guess what? Now I realize that, again, those were my mirrors. Those were things I was saying to myself. I was the one who didn't feel good enough. So when people say things to you and you think they shouldn't say them, look and see, are you talking to yourself like that? Because if you're talking to yourself like that, then all they're doing is being your echo. And it's an opportunity for you to make a change and do something different. So now, I want you to spend the next 7 days until you see me again. Close your eyes and visualize. And I'll see you next time on Master Force. Thank you for joining me. Have a great week.
It's 9
We've come to the end of our show today. If you missed any broadcasts, go to our website for the audio and video archives at www.thefemalesolution.com. On behalf of our team of radio hosts, I'd like to thank all of you who participated in today's discussions. And to our global family joining us from all around the world, we say thank you. To our family in China, xie xie. India, Dhanyavad. Japan, arigato. Korea, kamsamnida. Russia, spasiba. Germany, danke. Poland, dziękuję. France, merci. Spain, gracias. Italy, grazie. Egypt, shukran. Ghana, madasi. Nigeria, eshe. South Africa, Ngiyabonga. Senegal, Jaref. Kenya, Asante. Israel, Toda. Pakistan, Shukriya. Afghanistan, Tashakur. Saudi Arabia and Palestine, Shukran. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Thank you, and may peace be upon you and the mercy of God and God's blessings.